given those dates for the moment. When the Roman Empire was involved in civil strife and other problematic things, and the succession wasn't terribly secure, and there were problems over different emperors' behavior, I think he was working towards trying to get his own thing going in the East. And I don't think the Romans liked that. And there's some question about the circumstances of his death that are described in Josephus. You say, what's that got to do with us Christians? And Christian origins has a lot to do with Christian origins, because the circumstances of his death are also described in Acts. And they're not exactly like Josephus describes them, but it's a good dating point for Acts to see. Acts obviously is trying to describe Agrippa I's death when it talks about Herod posturing and suddenly his stomach being eaten up by worms or something. In I think it's around Acts 13 or 14 or something like that. He's on, I forget, he's dressed like the sun or something. He's doing something. And even though Agrippa I is portrayed as a friend of the Roman emperors, and he's a grandson of Herod, but he has Maccabean blood in him. He's a grandson through Herod's wife Miriam. And Herod had a Maccabean wife. He had 10 wives. I've got some genealogies in the back of this James, the brother of Jesus book, which my friend here seems to have graciously purchased, and for which I'll sign it for him sometime if he asks me. But that's your reward for purchasing it. There is a genealogy, I think. Let me see that if I could in a minute. There is a genealogy in the back of that thing, I think. Let's see. Noel's friend Ron helped prepare the genealogies here. And you did some work on them too, didn't you, Noel?
No.
Oh, just him? Okay. Whatever it is. Anyway, we worked this out together. But Ron did a lot of work on this. And here's the final installment of it here. So we don't list all, here are all Herod's wives. Cleopatra, Malthasa, Miriam 1, Miriam 2, and well, there's more. We just have a few of them here, but there's about 10 wives in all. And Agrippa I comes down from this Maccabean 1, Miriam 1. And let's see if I can find, here's Agrippa I over here, coming down like this. So he's a grandson of Herod, but his father was executed by Herod, if you read Josephus, because Herod was afraid his Maccabean offspring. He had one Maccabean wife, the last Maccabean princess. It was an enforced marriage. He killed her too because he was jealous of her. He killed her husband, he killed her brother, because he realized the people preferred him to him, the brother to Herod. So Herod was Joe Stalin, and incipient Joe Stalin, or Saddam Hussein. He killed anyone that was in his way. And he basically exterminated the Maccabean family, including his own offspring by the Maccabean family, and his own wife, his own Maccabean wife, who he supposedly cared for. Stalin killed his wife, they say, at one of the moments that he really cared for her, or she committed suicide or something. In any case, these people tend to have the same life experiences. They get very brutal and vicious and cunning. All three things are a very bad mixture. And there's nothing that they won't do. And this one was a terrible thing for the Jews, if you like, because it really exterminated their royal family that had taken a century or two to develop. And all their hopes were shattered as a nation by this. So it's so awful to someone who cares about this. I care about this history. When I hear people say, oh, Herod is a Jewish king. This is not a Jewish king. This is an interloper. This is someone that the people hated. This is someone who destroyed Jewish nationality, who destroyed the country, who set the stage for everything that followed since. In fact, he set the stage for the Holocaust, because by doing the things he did, he set the people, on the road away from their native land and their native dynasty, and therefore all the things that happened in the so-called diaspora occurred. This is so painful to anyone who knows the history to hear, and I apologize for being caring about that, to hear of Herod as a Jewish king. He was everything but a Jewish king. He was very opposite of a Jewish king. He did such horrible things to the people that they're indescribable, even in those days. And you have to read your Josephus, who was certainly a flatterer, and he didn't cover over a lot of these horrible things. So, you know, probably much worse than he's even describing. But this is the tragedy, people like Herod, who were put in control by the Romans and eked out a kingship out of their governorship and made a hereditary dynasty out of their governorship. Okay. I won't cry about that anymore. So Antipater was nominated procurator, then appointed king. Herod appointed king by the Romans. But since the lineages of the Jews, the genealogies, they were kept, contributed nothing to his advantage. Again, this is like Joe Stalin would have done. He was goaded because of his lowly, ignoble extraction, his, ignoble roots, if you like, to burn all these records. So because he couldn't have a good genealogy, he burned everyone else's. Thinking that he himself might appear noble, or no one would appear noble. And so he's quite smart here, Eusebius, where he's getting this information. Thinking himself might appear of noble origins by the fact that no one else would be able to trace the pedigree by the public records back to the patriarchs or the proselytes and to those strangers that were called Giori. He means ger. In Hebrew, a ger is somebody, G-E-R, who is in the Bible, they're ger nilveh, they're called. It's referred to in the Dead Sea Scrolls, resident aliens. Someone who is, to a certain extent, if you like, converted and joined the people and reside with the people. They're, if you like, foreign convert, if you like, but they may not have been totally a convert, but he burned all those records too. But some people were able to keep their genealogical records, and in particular, this group of people he refers to here as the Desposity. The Desposity. You see that? Now, if anyone has a significantly different translation, you want to read that other sentence I just read from the Penguin? That one about how he burned the public records and the proselytes. Can you read that one there? Whoever has
it. It says, a few careful people have private records of their own, having either remembered the names...
No, before that. Thinking that he might appear of noble origin, he burned the...
thinking that he could appear noble, nobly born, if no one else was able to